All right, good morning, everybody. We will convene this regular Board of County Commissioner meetings. Today is July 25th, 2024, meeting in the Centennial Building in the wonderful city of Cripple Creek, Colorado. This morning we'll begin with an invocation from Commissioner Williams and Terry Snare will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another opportunity to serve the great citizens of Colorado and Teller County. And we pray for the continued good weather. We pray for the leadership of our country. And as we develop new leaders and new processes, may it ask for the end of division in Teller County and also in his name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for those two items, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we have minutes from the previous meeting, on July 11th. And I had one correction on page 2 under my report. That I gave the report on Page Superior Council of Government, it should be Pikes Peak Workforce Center. And that's the only thing I have. Gentlemen, do you have any notes or corrections?
No, I wasn't at that hearing. You know, I was at NACO, so I'm second the motion.
Okay. Yeah, and I have reviewed, and I have no other changes. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes of the proceedings of the Teller County Board of County Commissioners dated July 11th, 2024 as amended.
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, assuming no other questions or discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Campbell.
Yes. And then next up, we have our accounts payable run. And no additional comments.
Yeah, I don't have any either. We're happy to make a motion. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the July 23rd, 2024 accounts payable amount of $649,425.90 as written.
Second.
Assuming no other discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes. Next up, we have Commissioner Board reports. Commissioner Stone.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think for my comments today, I'd really like to focus on the Region 16 Opioid Policy Council, which I serve as vice chair of. We've had a couple of meetings since the last report about this board. We have funded almost $3 million worth of projects and programs related to the opioid crisis. I think most of those I really hardly agree with because they're new opportunities, and some of the areas that they're really focusing in and these grants that have been done is providing funding to the El Paso County Jail for not only the continued treatment of people who come in who are suffering from opioid addictions, but creating a system where they can, as they're releasing them from jail, is that they actually would have a supply of, for example, Suboxone. Suboxone is a drug which allows people who are addicted to opioids to basically calm the urges of addiction without providing a high of any kind. It's not like methadone. It actually, it's not a drug that actually does induce a high, but it actually is very effective at curbing the desire, to have that. But then also a handoff program from that, so that not only will they have a short supply, so that they can go a week or two after being released from jail, is that then also a handoff to therapists, handoff to medical professionals who can then get them into therapy, get them into programs and counseling, so that hopefully they don't come back to jail. And so excited about that project. Also, the Colorado Springs Fire Department, and this will apply to Teller County as well, is they have a program where they're going to begin working with, anytime there's a crime scene or anything where, there's been an overdose or anything related to an emergency medical response comes out, is that, they will then follow up with anybody who is impacted by it, both victims as well as, people who are actually addicted, to kind of do a similar handoff, either give them counseling, give help for families. The one big gap that was found in this opioid crisis, and just to give you an idea of the scale, by the way, when it comes to overdose deaths in the state of Colorado, there are 3 times as many people that die of overdose of opioids and other similar drugs, which opioids are 73% of all overdoses. Those overdose deaths are 3 times greater than all of the violent crime deaths that occur in the state of Colorado. That is the state that we are in with this. So one of the big gaps was how to help families. We have help for families, victims, advocates when a violent crime has been committed against them. But when somebody overdoses in their household and dies at their home, there was no help. There was no help for that family of how to get this scene cleaned up, how to go through this process at a time of extreme tragedy of, getting burial, but then also identifying other people in the family that may be impacted by addiction. So they're going to have a really neat program that deals with families and deals and basically provides not victims advocates, but really addiction advocates and family advocates to help them through that process. So that's going to be really positive as well. There also was a grant that came out to the Conleys who are working on a sober living home, an additional one in addition, kind of program for those who are addicted, to help them by building a community around them and give them activities and things to do that keep them from going back to the same groups of people. So just really, really positive. And then at yesterday's meeting, though, the really powerful part of it is there's a group that I think is going to be applying for funding from the Opioid Policy Council that came down from Denver. It's called Full Circle. And they're kind of a 12-step program, and it's specific for youth and adolescents. And it doesn't exist in Southern Colorado right now, but they're looking at coming into both Teller and El Paso counties and setting up 12-step support groups for youth and adolescents. But they brought 12 young people down who were in the process of recovery. Every single one of them spoke to us about where they were in their journey. And there wasn't a single person that came down to talk about the importance of it that had been sober for more than 12 months. They were all in that first year window. And they talked about how Full Circle helped them to do the similar thing to what Conleys are looking at doing up here, which is to build a community around themselves. They would go to 12-step programs, but it would be frankly full of old people like us up here. That they had nothing in common with, and it wasn't any fun. And it was interesting because the director of Full Circle from Denver said, when it comes to youth and adolescents, there's 2 things really have to happen. Number one is they want help. And if they don't want help, you can't help them. But once they do want help for younger and adolescent people, is it has to be fun. And hanging out with old recovering people evidently is not fun. But hanging out with other kids who are going through the same walk that they're walking, and they do different things when they come in. They before the meetings even start. Now I've never been to an AA meeting, but I'm guessing that they aren't blaring hip hop music before the meeting starts, just to get people to get up, expend some energy so that they can sit down for an hour for a meeting. But then after the meeting, they'll go out or they'll go have ice cream, or they make this association fun. They make connections and then get sponsors, just like with other 12-step programs. And really excited for them to come down and give us a proposal for that. The total amount of money that currently that has been advocated as well, or not advocated, has been allocated to Teller and El Paso counties is now projected to be in excess of $30 million. And that does not include any settlement from the I'm trying to think of the name of the pharmaceutical company that was just involved in the bankruptcy. Purdue, thank you. Yeah, Purdue. And the bankruptcy court, evidently, in their acceptance of the settlement for Purdue, which was $6 billion going into this overall fund, it'll be a significant amount of money coming to Colorado. except for they provided shielding of liability for the family, the Shore family. And the court, Sackler, I'm sorry, thank you. Sackler family, start with an S. But anyway, the Sackler family, but they, and the court ruled that bankruptcy court didn't have the authority to shield anybody from liability, so they sent it back to redo it again. So we'll see what comes out of it. There's still, the end of that story though is that there's more coming. So even more funds are coming, and we're in a strategic planning area right now. We did an initial round just to get some money into, into the communities, and now we're in a strategic planning phase, which will probably go on for the next 6 months or so. And looking forward to really fostering a lot of innovation between both individuals as well as nonprofits, and also with government agencies as well. So really, really powerful meeting with those kids that came down and talked to us, and looking forward to the future there. Also, just not a report, but just a lot of great things that are going on here in Teller County that people we're gonna be talking about the liquor permit for the fair, but more importantly is the fair itself and what's going on with that. We've got events starting as early as Friday night. So tomorrow night, there's things starting with royalty, and then going into our flagpole dedication on Saturday at the fairgrounds, and kind of celebrating some of the improvements there. I just want to invite everybody to really come out to the fair and enjoy all of the events that are there. There's, you can see the Tykes wrestling, doing button busting, and, there will be, an ATV rodeo, and, of course, the livestock sale, and just the bidders dinner, and all kinds of fun things. There'll be dances, a couple different dances during the event. So really looking forward to that. Also pancake breakfast and Florissant, Heritage Days and Florissant, just so much going on. Fantastic time of year. So get out and enjoy it. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Stone. Commissioner Williams.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's what I was gonna pick up on Eric mentioned as well. Eric did say he hasn't been to a AA meeting either have I, so I'll just exposing that right now.
I don't need to do anything.
Anyway, yeah, so three themes, Mr. Chairman. As you know, I wasn't here for the last meeting, it's because I was in NACO, so I'll give you a report after that. But really just want to fit into three things: local activities, ballot initiatives, and then NACO. In terms of local, Eric's exactly right. Your three commissioners spent a lot of time shaping legislation. We spent almost 5 months of our life up at Denver. That never stops. It's happening now. So I'll start with the ballot initiative. So when you work through a 5-month process with legislators and local control, Democrats, Republicans, and you don't get legislation across, and somebody still has an axe to grind, or they have a poker they want to put in the fire, specifically taxes or mountain lions, they get somebody then go run a ballot initiative. You have to get a lot of signatures, and they're all being validated, but we have a couple that have just appeared on the ballot, and they're all bad. And I want to thank Pat Hill, she's here as well, for publishing. I was on KRDO speaking out against 2 ballot initiatives that I really would ask our residents to take a look at. When they come out on the blue book, you get something like says, and I'll be simplistic here, hey, don't you want to lower your taxes? You don't read it, you think, sure. But so let's talk about 2 that are already on there. The second one just got approved, and the one that's coming. So ballot initiative 50 and 108 again, thanks to Pat Hill. You guys did a good job in the article, and KRDO's run it as well. But basically it proposes to put a cap on growth, on revenue growth. Sounds really good, right? And remember, and Eric said it many times, and so has Bob with his expertise, property taxes are local. These are our taxes from our people that we have the agility, as we did last year with Senate Bill 108, to give back money. When the state comes in and says, trust us, we're going to do something and we'll give it back to you. We just lost control of that. And what do we do with that? So on this one, I would tell you, again, this is initiative 50. We lose critical flexibility. It's going to affect law enforcement, EMS, transportation. It tends to take a one-size-fits-all approach. So again, if you look at the title, hey, we're going to save you money, don't trust that. And so I will tell you that the article that came out was written by myself and Summit County Commissioner Tamara Pogue, who's a Democrat. And so this is reach across bipartisan support, almost unanimous across Colorado, from the 300+ commissioners saying this is a bad deal. And again, it didn't get through legislation, so they wanted to bring it to the people. And so, want to be real clear, we want the people to vote, but we want the people to be educated. So please look at that one and oppose it. 108 reduces statewide assessment rates. What that really means, within 3 years, they'll slash $3 billion that counties would normally have. Again, it'll affect schools, it'll affect districts. They then say that Well, we'll get that money back to you because once you give us the money and trust us, we'll take 18% of the state general fund and give it back. Well, I remind you that 60% of the state lives in the Denver metro area. So what do you think the money's going to go? It's going to set up a bigger conflict between rural counties who don't grow as much and Denver metro area that has immigration policies that are different and all that. So a really bad thing. And it would actually slash budgets to the point of the Great Recession, not the Depression, but the recession. So again, I'd ask our residents to be informed and to vote no on Initiatives 50 and 108. Initiative 91 is mountain lions. And so why is that important? 100 years ago in Teller County, we had almost wiped out every animal. Our miners were eating everything out there. Something close to DNR was created, DNR, Department of Natural Resources, of course, now CPW. They use a science-based approach to managing wildlife in Colorado. We now have the largest herd. They take a few hundred mountain lions a year, so your grandkids aren't eating. That's the bottom line. We've got the state now reintroducing wolves and wolverines. CPW has sort of been neutered in terms of why did they get asked? They can't give you an opinion on it. If someone were to propose, let's stop hunting elk, and you had enough people who don't hunt in the Denver metro area, you would stop hunting elk in Colorado. So this is a direct attack on science-based approach to wildlife management. Let's just do away with CPW and DNR if we're going to go to the people for wildlife management. There's 686 species. So I'd ask you to look at that. It's not trophy hunting. It's mountain lions, lynx, and bobcat. There isn't a problem. This is a group of people that Eric and Bob and I had a fight, I think 3 years ago or 2 years ago. They attempted to make this a law. And when you had a public process in the legislature, it was defeated for all those reasons that we trust DNR and CPW to manage all these things. And the truth is, 6 million people in Colorado, unless you move all of us out of the mountains, we're never going back to 1880. So when you don't control an apex creature, you're going to have more and more interactions, and they're going to get killed anyway. And so there's a whole story to this, but that would be called Initiative 91. It's got more than enough signatures, but we're waiting to find out if the Secretary of State will validate all of them. It still disappeared, but that's 91. So again, 50, 108, 91. Please pay attention. Those are sneaky last-minute ads here on top of an already contentious presidential election year. So that's valid initiatives. NACO. It was my privilege to represent CCI, State of Colorado, and county commissioners from Colorado on public lands in Tampa. It was really hot. We were there for 3 days. Always interesting to gather with about 1,500 commissioners from all over the country. You know exactly what's going on in terms of, and I'll tell you the themes. Everybody's tired of the division. It was interesting. Former President Trump got shot while we were there, so I got to see everybody's reactions, and people are done with the division. The other thing that's interesting is we got access to the Secretary of the Interior, Secretary of Agriculture on the public land stuff. The bureaucrats couldn't commit to anything. Why? Because they may not be in power, or they could be. We don't know after November. So that was a little disappointing. You weren't getting a lot of movement. Essentially what happens at NACO and public lands, energy, land use, and environment is we basically get together and say, what do we feel about certain topics? And then we produce resolutions. In September, a group of commissioners flies to Washington, D.C., stands in front of both houses and says, we want this. And it matters. It's a very powerful lobbying group. So I'll just cover 3 for public lands. First one Bob talks about a lot is PILT, payment in lieu of taxes. As an example, Nevada is 80% public. 80% published means they only tax 20% of their people, and yet the impacts are great. Beyond the impacts, though, the federal government collects money for grazing, mineral leases, they have a ski resort. We get the equivalent, this was shocking to me, of 0.28 of 1 cent back for every revenue dollar they get. And so commissioners are pretty torqued, and they're asking questions like, what the heck? Especially when you go into the next issue with PILT. So anyway, they're going to look at readjusting that formula. They've heard us loud and clear. We'll go fight that in September. Now comes and I'm going to be real careful here because I'm not anti the green energy business with our current administration, which really was solar, wind, and nuclear power. So last year I had the privilege to sit on the governor's board for clean energy, and we agreed we shouldn't rush it. It affects things like, what do you do with solar panels and blades when they're done? There's no place to decommission them. What about if I want to go through your ranch with the transmission lines? Is that a taking? Is that eminent domain? So slow, whose benefit is it XL, Core, and Black Hills, or is your electricity bill going to go down? So the process is called NEPA. It's almost an 8 or 9 year process. Then in the state of Colorado, despite not having data, we have a very progressive senator named Chris Hansen who wanted to rush it and introduce a bill. We were able to defeat that last year. So, and I'll read you the resolution. This will be shocking to you. There are several states north of us and in Idaho that now will move forward with nuclear power for the first time in 60 years. We then passed a resolution. I said, wait a minute, for what nuclear power can produce with the amount of public land that I take away from the public, it's nothing compared to 170,000 acres of public land I have to take away for the same amount of gigawatts. So I'll read you that. And oh, by the way, why do they do that? One, it's true. Two, if I tell you I'm going to put a nuclear power in your backyard, you're probably going to say, we should slow down. We should do this right. We should have an NEPA process. What was happening with just solar was hurry up, because we all believe in green energy. And so the resolution, I'll read it to you verbatim. Issue: wind and solar power generation have a huge land footprint as compared to conventional sources of electric generation. Policy proposal, and this got passed. The National Association of Counties supports safe and reliable nuclear power generation due to its small land use footprint and because it is far more efficient than solar and wind energy generation, therefore saving our public lands for Congress' true intended public use as per the Constitution. The background, nuclear power is the most reliable energy source and is not even close to the others. So bottom line, kind of where you feel on that issue, what we're basically saying as commissioners from across the United States, if you're going to propose putting energy, producing things that are green, those three on public lands, let's include nuclear power. And then our assessment was if you lose your hunting, if you lose your ability to ride horses, take your kids out to watch birds, it's a lot better to do it with these. And these are modular nuclear power plants. They're about the size of the Centennial building. So Idaho's moving forward. Wyoming, Maine, there's a few others. I don't know of any in Colorado yet, but this was endorsed by everybody. So that's pretty huge. The rest of it goes to most of the forest health stuff and all that we talked about. Final point, Mr. Chair, we have a short agenda today, so taking a little bit of extra time on the local things that Eric talked about. That's really what commissioners love doing the most. And Eric mentioned some, so I'll start by saying and thanking Mr. Chair was there, Bob was there, and Eric, of course, was out of the country on a different mission, but we finally finished the Purple Heart dedications, and thank you for covering that. So when you drove here today and turned left on 67 from Divide, you saw the CDOT quality sign. I want to thank Ross and Public Works personally for doing that for us. We did pay for those, but it took a while to get them paid. So right now there are 55 Purple Heart signs in this county. You can't come into this county on a dirt road or asphalt road without seeing the sign. It sends a powerful message to our veterans. It sends a powerful message to people who are going to come up here and commit suicide that happen to be veterans. It might be the one last thing they see that makes them call somebody, and all those things we talked about. We were really honored to have 3 Purple Heart recipients from Vietnam there, 2 Green Beret and Air Force guys, very emotional. So thank you for that. And that I have to give John Bartlett credit. 16 months ago, he came to the commissioners with a vision, and 16 months later to include legislation and everything else in the governor's signature, it's done. We're a Purple Heart Trail, we're a Purple Heart community, and all 3 of our incorporated cities are. So I'm really proud of that. Had a chance to march in the parade as a veteran, support Barb Manning. That was wonderful. Just like every time we go there, it's either going to rain or snow. We got done before it rained, but that's Gold Rush Days, and it's really neat to support one of our towns. Eric mentioned the pancake breakfast. That's something all 3 of us love to do. Last year in Florissant, 750 people showed up. So if you want to, go talk to your folks, if you want to be seen by your folks, if you just want to mix and find out what the issues are. But most importantly, we're in fire season. And so when they see us at the firehouse and we're helping them to raise money, they also know if they see us at the firehouse a week later for something else, it's a good, comfortable thing. Eric mentioned Heritage Days across the street. So I encourage folks to do that. We did have a wildfire council meeting. I know Jessica had to step out, but I want to thank our interim OEM. Probably the best wildfire council meeting that I've been to. It's been a while since we've had one. Great slides. We had our federal and state partners there, and we were very focused on wildfire prevention here right now, specifically mitigation, which is a lot of that going on. And knock on wood, we've been blessed so far, but it's getting dry as we go through the summer. I want to thank Newmont personally. They'll be at the event Saturday that Eric mentioned with the fair. They did contribute some money last year to help us towards some of the improvements, but they also did something pretty cool. They had a golf tournament and they asked, could we sponsor the Veterans Trust Fund? Veterans Trust Fund is for widows and veterans who are potentially down on the luck or the house burns down. And it's a fund that generally the veterans in Talbot County flip burgers and do things to raise money. So they said, would you like to be the recipient of it? We said, sure. They had a golf tournament and handed us a check for $12,000 on Friday. It takes us 2 years to get $12,000. So they doubled our Veterans Trust Fund. So a shout out and a thank you to Newmont. And finally, I've had a couple calls. All of us have on this. There will be information released and probably a briefing. I'll leave it up to Ross on CrowdStrike. Yeah, we were impacted by that here, but I'll leave that up to get it to the press with a statement in terms of transparency. The good news is our there's a fix in place. There's some things that we want to tell you about. Other than that, Mr. Chair, that's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. I'd just like to focus on a couple, three things, and I will re-bring up the initiatives. You guys gave a great explanation on what the initiatives include. And my only plea is don't get fooled by the title. That first sentence is always key. And some of the initiatives, the title ends up being a half a page and the details, pages and pages and pages in the blue book. But don't get fooled by the title. The devil is in the detail, especially when it comes to property taxes and the assessment rates. They're like the devil's in the details. That's always, don't get fooled by the detail. Otherwise, I'll shift to CCI's legislative issues. Last week, we had our first in probably 3 or 4 meetings that we'll have to, including regional meetings where each of the divisions of Mountain District, Central District, et cetera, get a swipe at what CCI's policy initiatives will be for the next legislative session. And these are issues that are brought up by each and local commissioners and counties. We probably went through 25 different issues, and it'll get narrowed down to 6 at the worst case scenario, maybe 8 issues, where the commissioners will bring it forward as a CCI bill and support it with all the weight and power of the cloud of CCI to move forward. So we start filtering that process and getting information and details on what some of those initiatives may look like. Meeting was several hours long, and we had probably 75 commissioners statewide explaining some of those issues. So we got a head start on that because it's really early, but CCI filters them out, takes a couple, 3 months, and then we have a legislative council that meets and decides on those priorities early on so that we can grab sponsors, because if you wait until the session starts, all the bills are already allocated and all the legislatures already have their bills that they want to lobby. So we get ahead of the curve and start filtering these issues so that we can make sure the quality and what the benefit for a statewide issue is. Some of these issues end up being very parochial. It's something that affects a Kiowa County or a Washington County, but it doesn't affect the whole state. So we're going through that process, and we spent quite a bit of time working on that the other day. And I was happy to sit in those Zoom meetings, although it took most of the day. And then otherwise, I'd just like to comment, it seemed to be like a board meeting period time. So we've had our local Board of Health meeting that meets regularly. We've had our Board of Social Service meeting that met on Tuesday. My ongoing ever-long commitment to the Pikes Peak workforce, we had that board meeting. We got some very important issues resolved because we had some controversies on a couple statewide plans and how it affects workforce communities and their regions and policies, but we got everything through and corrected and pushed through. Also met with our community partnership board meeting, and we had lots of Kiwanis items that I've been dealing with. We gave away an ATV and a long-term raffle that we've been doing on the Books ATV service has donated an ATV to Kiwanis, and we raised $18,000 for that. And all that money that we raise for Kiwanis goes for kids in the community. And we give grants away every quarter from the Kiwanis board to lots and lots of variety of kids community efforts and community clubs and everything that events kids supplies. Initially it's for the kids, and so that they don't have to raise money as little kids. Kiwanis supports those. So that really helped our supply. And I just like to say thank you to Books and John at Books ATV for donating that ATV. We had a very successful raffle. So other than that, I think you guys covered the local events and things we've been doing. Probably leave it at that, so I don't become repetitive on the same stuff unless you guys have. All right, that concludes board reports. And we will begin with elected officials report. Carol Kiddison, our assessor, anything brought from the board?
Nothing today, sir. Thank you.
All right, Crystal Brown, anything that's not on the agenda?
I'll save mine for the agenda.
All right. Stephanie Keys, our clerk and recorder.
We just like to introduce Kenzie Porter. She's one of my New York deputies, cross training everybody, so she will be attending the next meeting. Also, just another reminder that we have the fraud guard. It's a way to detect the fraudulent property transfer, and that is available online on our website. So tell all your friends, sign up your family, spread the word. That's all I have.
So Steph, I ask you questions on the fraud guard. There's no cost to the residents, it's just going to the
That is-
website, signing up, and then
That is correct.
that's great. Thank you, ma'am.
It's a great program because I got a report from one of my credit monitoring things the other day that somebody had sold a property in my name. Luckily, it wasn't actually a property I owned, but the name was from somebody in Manitou. And that type of thing would have been alerted to me by you as opposed to a credit agency if you don't have credit reporting monitoring. So thank you so much for bringing that program forward.
My intention is to contact and give that information to like lenders and insurance companies so that they can maybe have something to monitor also.
I appreciate the program. Thank you so much. I think I hit all the elected officials. All right, next up we have Commissioner Administrator report from Ross Herzog.
Thank you, sir. I'll keep it brief, but summer's here, staff is very busy. I first just want to thank everyone in the organization for how hard they're working right now, getting things done. We are sharpening our pencils and looking at strategic planning and aligning budgets, and very excited to see some of the projects going forward with Florissant Park. That one's still on track and going very well as the fairgrounds. Hoping maybe run up there a little today, and I know you'll have a presentation, a request for a special events permit later today as well. But other than that, we're just busy and trying to keep things going. So thanks.
Mention CrowdStrike or
CrowdStrike, we're going to do a washdown, and then we'll have a formal. We were very lucky with we didn't have any impacts that we're concerned with. And we'll do a release probably middle next week after we talk about it internally. But no concerns.
you know, we had a few hours where we had a slow start for a morning and our IT group was out and the issue with CrowdStrike is it just wasn't a programming update that got sent out by CrowdStrike, but the update on the program hit every base computer we have, not just servers. So our IT department had to literally go out to 250 plus computers and do some work on each one to be able to get restarted again. So we got a slow start to the morning, but effectively it all got fixed pretty too sweet. And I just give a shout out and a thank you for all of our IT staff who had every computer in the county system, like within 24 hours to get them, make sure that it didn't continue and didn't create some blackout screens for them, because that's what hit everybody was blackout screen. We saw in the news how many organizations and types of organizations, just not government, got killed with that. I know Commissioner Stone got affected with travel industries because the amount of people that use that in the Microsoft platform got affected by it. So thank you for the IT group for responding so quickly on that.
Yeah, and if I could just add, Mr. Chair, to that it'll be in the hot wash for the press when it comes out, but no loss of data, no corruption of data, no effect to the election's integrity, none of that. Just kind of the questions we've been getting. So that's why we want to be real transparent. So we were really lucky. And part of that, as Bob said, as the chair said, is because we had a serious investment over a year ago in cybersecurity. And so when you have these new systems and you have something like this happen, that's the reason why we did it. So, and as special thanks to Kyle, who's on that well-deserved vacations. I think he put, Mr. Chair, 36 hours straight into it, worked all through the night with our IT. So we're very grateful to them. And as Ross said, we'll have a hot wash and statement to release here probably next week, I think, Ross.
Yeah, we're gonna just internally look at it. I mean, IT did an amazing job. I mean, they're constantly doing it. I mean, this was just a vendor that made a mistake, and the calculation was a lot of manual labor for our IT department to just correct it and get us back, get our skis pointed back down the hill and ready to go.
It overemphasizes beta test the program. Before he sends up and now beta test it, make sure it works.
And
And Mr. Chair, I want to add in praise.
as I was getting outside of town, but I got the updates from Kyle along with everybody else. And I thought the impressive thing about our IT team was that, first off, is that they knew they had a problem in the middle of the night when everybody else is sleeping. They get woken up that there's a problem, and they actually discovered there was a problem, identified by nature what the problem actually was long before the official, I think the official reports came out around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning about global, network problems and things coming out. And, we knew at 11:30, 11:30 the night before that we had an issue, and they knew what the problem was before 3 o'clock. Didn't know what the solution was at that point, but within, the end of that day, they knew exactly what they had to do to fix it, and they went out and did it. It was pretty impressive. And, just as a comment, as was mentioned earlier, I was traveling during this. Yes, I did get caught up in it, which wasn't any fun, but Southwest Airlines was unaffected by CrowdStrike because they use Windows version 3.1. So we might want to look into finding out if there are any old version of 3.1 available.
25-year-old
software, but I guess that's one way to avoid the hackers or any potential code problems is to use something nobody's interested in anymore.
Yeah, and this was an error. I mean, this wasn't.
Yeah, no, this is just an error, exactly. So
They were on it.
yeah,
Kyle's motivation was, I know he was already going on a pretty long time without sleep, and his response back is, I'll stop when it's done.
pretty incredible. I think the other thing also people need to be aware of is that and no effect on our 911 services whatsoever, emergency services were, and part of that was because of their quick action. The other part of it is because the redundant nature of all of our systems and being able to, if necessary, move to radios and other communication devices than just the computer itself. So just fabulous work on all fronts, both OEM for the backup stuff as well as our IT for their quick action.
Never tracking that the whole time. So, great work.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we have time for department heads. I don't know if we have any department heads in the room that have a report. I'm not seeing any. All right, next up, we have time reserved for public that do not have items on the agenda. Do we have any public? Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. Good morning.
All right, my name is Erica Ring, and this is my husband, Francisco. We are full-time, year-round Teller County residents. And you met Francisco about 2 months ago at your January 6th open forum time when he inquired about our right-of-way vacation application, which was sufficiently completed in July 2023, over a year ago. And we're here because the lack of timely decision is now preventing us from making necessary improvements to our deck and retaining walls that are currently encroaching in the right-of-way. The deck and walls have become extremely dangerous. We've both fallen through at different heights, especially with our 9-year-old son, which makes it even more concerning. And we're unable to schedule improvements in compliance until we confirm our property boundaries.
Okay, if I could bring up one point here. We have this scheduled for a future appointment. So we need to avoid some of the details on this because it's going to come in front of us as a quasi judicial hearing item. So we can't get tainted by pre-testimony, just like you can't talk to a judge before the case comes. So in a future hearing, this is already scheduled to come before this, so.
But when we have yet to hear anything about any scheduling, which is why we're here. In fact, we were told that this was going to be heard today. And less than 48 hours ago, we were told, no, it's not going to be on this agenda today, which was a little bit of a slap in the face to hear that you have a short agenda today. So that's why we're here. We scheduled to take off work today. So we are here today. And frankly, in the future, Francisco's going out to fight fire for the whole next month. I have business meetings out of town, so we are here, and I would like to put this on the public record, if that is acceptable.
So just as additional point, it's not because of length of agenda. We just had additional staff work and some discussions to happen before it came before us. It didn't have anything to do with length of agenda, but it wasn't primed to be able to make a decision, and we have to have all our ducks in a row before we hear it, so.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I understand you want to get some things on the record, but the issue that we have with the request that's going to come before us, because it is quasi judicial, any details, information that you would want to provide us today, Paul, if you could help me out with this. I mean, look, we would not be able to consider those comments when that comes before us, but it may actually taint that process. And Paul, if you would speak to that, just so, and I understand your frustration. I get it, and because there's lots of things that I'd love to be able to say, yeah, let's just do it right now. Let's get in front of us. Let's talk about it. You're here. But it's not on the public agenda. You're right about that. If we did ask for some additional staff work on it before it came back to us, we were briefed on it at our work session earlier this week. And, just want to make sure that you understand that from our end, at least on the commissioner's side, is that we have to be very careful about what comes in front of us because, again, we don't want to take that process for you because it is that quasi judicial process where we, essentially act as judges on the request of this. Paul, can you make a comment on that, please?
Correct. The commissioner sent it back to planning staff for additional staff work. Part of the formal hearing on the request includes a staff report presentation from staff who have spent much more time on this matter than the commissioners because commissioners have not yet seen all of that. And that in a public meeting allows for question and answer of the planning staff and also you as the applicants. And the staff report also includes information from referral agencies. So again, like Commissioner Stone said, I understand your frustration, but there is that formal process to go through that then creates a record of your application, then the staff report, the hearing, and any decision that comes out of that hearing. And then that becomes a final action of this board. And we have to go through all those steps in the right order in order to create a record. So that if you are happy with the record, that's the end of the action. If you are unhappy with the record or unhappy with the decision, it gives you a record that you can use for any appeal of the Board of County Commissioners decision. So if we were to engage in any question and answer, any information during a public comment period, that is not part of the record. And as a county attorney, I don't want any of that to happen today because it's too early. So that's
So what are our next steps? What hard next steps do we have? Because we've been in this process now for over 2 years.
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Chair, one, I just want to add my apologies to both of you, your neighbors, your taxpayers, your residents, that matters. Some of the detail we're hearing now that we really can't hear is different than I think what we heard last time, old construction versus new construction. But so apologies to you. The second thing I would tell you is that we're looking at some processes within that department. And this is a proposal for public land acquisition or at least an encroachment, which means there would be friends and neighbors here, other people that might agree or disagree. So that's the other is like, you can't truncate it because if I was your neighbor, you would give them something that I didn't know, for example, it gives me course. So I think your next steps are the boss person as the administrator will reach out to you with that next step. That'll be a hearing after we've received all of our documents to meet us so we can have an exchange and then we can make it convenient to your schedules. I understand you both work and thank you for what you're doing with fire season. That's the best we can give you today. We can't put it out of order. Your appeals process involves district court, for example, if it didn't go your way. And so those things have to be in process, but give us a chance to digest everything, get the processes that all the gentlemen here asked you for.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, excuse me, Dan, for the points that you were hoping to make today, first off, is that you certainly can put those down in writing and make sure that those are submitted through the county administrator. I would probably recommend that you wait to see what's going to be given to commissioners as part of the packet and staff recommendation.
We have that with us now, if you'd like it.
Well, we don't, that's what I'm saying is that you can provide it to the county administrator, but not directly to us because if it breaks that wall that we don't want to break. And again, we apologize for the scheduling piece of it. That being said, if, we certainly, our normal process is we do live stream the meetings. But we could arrange, if necessary, for you to be able to remotely, address, commissioners during that meeting. We don't do it very often, but we do have the capability to do it. I would recommend, on this, with the agreements, with, with the, concurrence, how about that? With concurrence of my fellow commissioners, is if you're not able to come to that meeting, is for us to be able to provide a way for you to testify remotely if you're at work, to be able to take a break and be able to address this directly.
What will happen then is that staff will come in and present the report that we can't look at yet. Then there's an opportunity in the process, say, we can hear from the applicant. So if you can't be here, you take it by Zoom, we can work a date with you guys.
Okay, what date will that be?
It'll be coming from the administrator, it'll reach out to you.
Can you give us a date today?
I can't, because there's another part of the process that has not yet occurred. It may occur, and that may involve the planning commission prior to the Board of County Commissioners. That decision has not yet been made. There's also a requirement to post the hearing in the newspaper because it involves land. And so given the fact that this board meets twice a month, and then you have a potential preliminary meeting from the planning commission.
Why is this process different
Excuse me,
than?
ma'am. Excuse me.
Yes,
Okay, that's the process.
okay.
I'm gonna ask you to stop your comments now because it really is it could potentially impact your case adversely, and I really don't want you to get off on the wrong foot in front of your decision-making body.
Yeah, and I would also make a request, Ross, just as county administrator, could you, follow up with planning staff, make sure, that they're keeping the applicants, apprised of what's going on now, what has yet to be done. Because obviously there's a bit of a disconnect, at least, over the last week or two. So, for where they understand where they are in the process, you can follow up with them on that. I know they would appreciate it. I think I would too. Certainly will. Thank you.
And you can create information if you don't already have it.
You've been working with Justin and Dan Swallow, right, so, yeah. Make sure that
They have all my contact information.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, any other public comment or items not on the agenda today?
Hi, all. I am Crystal Brown. I am the wife of the exalted ruler at the Elks Club 316. I know that there is another pancake breakfast, but this weekend and next weekend, we will be at the fair, supporting the fair and doing a pancake breakfast. We did Donkey Derby days and we had the Girl Scout troop that helped us. So we were able to provide them with each a very nice sleeping bag, backpack, and also Michelle Wolf also, she was, helped us with that. And then, not this weekend, we don't have anybody helping, but the following weekend, we do have the Cripple Creek Victor cheerleaders, and they are wanting to go to competition. So I just want to put a little plug in there, if you guys aren't busy from 7 to 10:30 for the next 2 weekends. So excited. Come and see us and have some pancakes.
And if you could, Crystal, we want to support it, get a chance, just shoot us a note. It's a super busy time. I know Terry's gonna talk after between, there's literally something we do every hour for the next week and a half, which we want to do. But sometimes they overlap. So if you just shoot us a note, something key times.
I totally understand. I'm right there with you. Thank you.
All right, seeing no other public, we'll close public comment at this point. And we'll move on to consider a resolution to amend various 2024 department fund budgets in our 950 agenda item number 4.
Madam Clerk, just confirm this is 24. Correct. And this is resolution number 07-25-2024, a resolution to amend the 2024 General Road and Bridge, Jail Enterprise, Fleet Management, and DSS fund budgets. Whereas in the past, the county has recognized significant savings from employment turnover that the Board of County Commissioners could consider for use in other areas. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners has directed staff to make a monthly budget adjustment by transferring personnel-related funds from individual departments to holding departments within each fund as personnel budget needs are reduced, and from holding departments to individual departments as personnel budget needs increase within county policy. And whereas funds budgeted in the above referenced holding departments, which have been added to each fund as personnel contingency departments ending in the numbers 2190, are not appropriated nor available for expenditure and are only accessible by resolution of the Board of County Commissioners transferring them to other departmental budget accounts. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners hereby finds, determines, and declares that adoption of this resolution is necessary for the preservation and protection of the public health, safety, and welfare of the inhabitants of Teller County, Colorado. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Teller County, Colorado, that the departmental budgets and personnel contingency department accounts be decreased as follows, and I will summarize by fund. General fund, $369,761. Road and bridge, $87,127. Jail enterprise, $103,699. Fleet management, $48,747. Social services fund, $116,206. And that the departmental and personnel contingency department accounts be increased as follows. And again, I'll summarize by fund. General fund, $369,761. Road and bridge fund, $87,127. Jail enterprise, $103,699. Fleet management, $48,747. Social services fund, $116,206. And that the amounts appropriated for expenditure be reduced and increased accordingly, adopted at the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners of Teller County, Colorado, this 25th day, July 2024.
All right, any questions for the county administrator on this budget adjustment?
No questions.
All right, what would be choice on this resolution?
Chair, I move that we approve resolution 0725-2024-24, that being the resolution to amend the 2024 general road, bridge, jail enterprise, fleet management, and DSS fund budgets to have it attached to the written minutes to show the details, budget adjustments.
Second,
All right, assuming no other discussion, roll call.
public comments, sir?
Oh, yes, this is a public item. Do we have any public comment on this budget adjustment? Thank you, Commissioner. All right, hearing no public comment. Roll call, please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes. Next up, our public trustee. Consider acceptance of the Teller County Public Trustees second quarter 2024 report.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Crystal Brown, Teller County Public Trustee with the Teller County Public Trustees Quarterly Report for the second quarter of the calendar year of 2024. The Public Trustees book balance at the close of the first quarter was $156,055.51. Income from sales, releases, and interest totaled $19,768.98. Disbursements in forms of clerk's fees, advertising, redemptions, refunds, our quarterly disbursement to the general fund totaled $8,828.30. We closed the second quarter with a new book balance of $156,764.66. Public trustees fees interest collected for the second quarter totaled $6,132.13. And pending your approval of this report, I will transfer the amount to the Teller County Treasurer's Office for an addition to the general fund. We have 20 active foreclosures. That's 4 that have active bankruptcies and 5 pending disbursements of overbids of funds. That's 3 more than last quarter, unfortunately. We released 218 deeds of trust, and that's typically due to paying off your property or a refinance. That's down 16 from last quarter. So, but typically that is basically what we have seen in the past. Numbers are a little bit down, but they hopefully will regain as we go into our following quarter. I know that we've had 2 foreclosures in July that's reflect on this report, that we had my first time foreclosure bid sale. So that was actually, it was really fun. I was, of course, nervous, and yesterday we had a little bit of fun with that. But pending your questions, that's all I have for you today.
And just to clarify, the lower amounts of deeds of trust that we clear, I'm sure, are partly due to the economic activity in the community, but if nothing else, more related to interest rates. It's not exactly attractive to refinance a loan when the interest rates are above 6% and sometimes 7%. So the activity on those are slowing down from where they were a couple of years ago.
I did talk to an investor yesterday, and he did say that they are looking for September, October, November. We should start seeing some things. So that's his prediction. We'll see. Not mine.
Any questions for commissioners or public trustees?
No, sir.
All right, I'll open this report up for public comment. Any public comment on the second quarter report from 2024? All right, hearing no public comments, what would be your choice on acceptance?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would move to accept the Taylor County Public Trustees report for second quarter 2024.
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, assuming no other discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thanks again, Crystal.
Thank you.
All right, next up, clerk and recorder, consider a special events liquor permit for the Telephone Fair and Teller County Association of Fairs and Shows.
All right, good morning. My name is Kinsey. I work at the Clerk and Recorder's office. I am here this morning requesting approval for a special event liquor permit to applicant Teller County Association of Fairs and Shows for the Teller County Fair. Property has been posted. All required documents have been submitted and required fees have been paid. Applicant is present for questions from the board.
Ms. Nair, go ahead. If you'd like to say anything, you don't have to if you don't need to, but.
No, I just want to say thanks for all the stuff you guys have done in the last few years. We're actually making the fair a community event now, and we love the fact that you guys are involved in, so I just appreciate everything you guys have done here recently.
Well, I could, Mr. Chair, just one question, Terry, and then a comment, the one more question. I can't remember this what you did last year, so is there armbands for people that love it? Okay, so
Yes.
we've got that, and that's just to keep, the kids separate.
Yes,
But I just want to compliment you and Randy and the entire fair board, and I know there's a lot more than you guys, but you're always there. We've given you a firm commitment that we're going to continue to work with it for the youth, for our kids. I want to thank you personally, and then also take this opportunity with the press here to invite Pat and Rick and Trevor and anybody else. We've got invites, but right now we have all 3 mayors coming, lots of council people, invite our elected officials, community members, but at 6 o'clock this Saturday, that's our 125-year anniversary. So it'll be a dedication of a new flag and flagpole, a big monument. We'll have the honor guard there. We'll have kids speaking. So this is a chance for adults to really come out and look at something that remembers the past, right? Races the future, and it's about these kids. So thank you for your commitment, and we know it's going to be a great fair. I also know that Ross has worked really hard. I think in the past, we've always heard after the fair, the 3 commissioners, hey, I didn't know we had a fair, right? If they're in Woodland Park there. So it's on the website, there are signs out, there are flyers out, and we're talking about it as much as we can. So we appreciate both papers on the electronic version have gotten that out as well, but you're very welcome to that ceremony. So it'll be historic. So thank you for all your efforts here.
We appreciate you guys. And we'll definitely be there several times during this week's process and more than week's process. And included in ceremonies that you have us included in, so we'll definitely be there.
And the last thing I'll tell you, you know, I'm an old soldier, the most daunting thing I'll do this week will be to meet Terry at 6 o'clock on Friday to help pick royalty. That's pretty nerve wracking. My granddaughter's wearing it too, so she'll be watching. So anyway, thanks for all the invites. Appreciate it.
And I do have one question, Mr. Chair. We got briefed on this and we had a discussion about it, but there's a $300 fee that these guys have paid, and there had some discussion about the inconsistency in the application of fees in regards to events at the fairgrounds. And I'm of the opinion that even though the fair is run by the by the Teller County Association of Fairs and Shows, and that is not, quote, Teller County, it's still the Teller County Fair. And I mean, it would be my desire to refund this fee back to the Fair Board, for them to be able to utilize that in whatever way that they feel would benefit the fairgoers or their participants. Could we accomplish that through a motion to approve and to amend to refund the permit fee back?
And I would add to that discussion, Mr. Chair, if I could. So this is the 125-year anniversary. There is a significant investment to include the mine, to include the county, to Eric's point, to bleachers, to ADA compliance, to all the things we've done. We've submitted that, so it does seem a little nonsensical at this point. Again, it's not an exception. It's making a realization that we put a significant investment monetarily into this. So to ask that same organization that we gave a check to with our left hand to give us a check back with our right hand. So,
Well, just to point out the detail, the fee was not related to the liquor license. It was just the use of the.
Correct. Yeah, so that is a fee for the use of the fairgrounds to show that they do have, permission to use this location, but there was a fee paid for that. I guess so that's unrelated to the item before us, but we could probably administratively just direct that.
I'm hearing a way to donate $300 back to the fair, and then a process to look in the future of being able to waive this fee.
That's kind of where I'm going.
Okay.
So will the attorney recommend a motion, or would that be directed to the administrator?
Since it's unrelated to this actual liquor permit, I would handle that through Ross and it's Public Works, right, through the handles the park facilities. So I can handle that through board direction to the county administrator.
So Terry, what we're saying is on this fee, doesn't make any sense to take a check from the fair board if we give you a check. So that will be handled administratively.
So this year, we haven't actually paid that fee yet,
Right.
but we really appreciate not having to put that money into it. Because it does come out of what we have to give to the kids, so if that's at all possible, we would.
So you won't get that decision here, but you'll get it from our.
That's fine,
administrator. So
I'll connect with you.
Okay, that's great, yeah, and so we appreciate anything you guys can do, and that, $300 is $300, but it does take away from what we can do for the kids too, so we appreciate that if that's willing to be happening.
Thank you so much, Jacob. And we appreciate all your commitment, your family's commitment, and everybody on the fair board. Obviously, we got lots of, beyond you, we got lots of 4-H people and committee members that dedicate their time to make this a successful event. So thank you so much for all those efforts. All right, for the item approved or in front of us, I'll open this up for public comment on the special events liquor license. Any public comment? All right, hearing none, your choice on the application.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the special events liquor permit for Teller County Association of Fairs and Shows as written and presented.
Second?
All right, assuming no other discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
See
Appreciate
you
it.
tomorrow.
All right, I think that concludes our regular items on the public agenda items. Next, we have one item on our commission's business items.
Thank you, sir. So before you, is consider authorizing the Director of Human Services to sign a purchase of service contract for core services program. This was tabled from our last hearing. And it is an agreement with Teller County Department of Human Services and the Community Coalition for Families and Children, Community Partnership Family Resource Center. The agreement would be that the county agrees to purchase and the contract agrees to provide life skills, parents as teachers in home services and supervised parenting, time services to families involved in child protection and welfare actions in Teller County. There is a fee schedule on the back appendix ranging from $21 to $50, depending on what type of those skills that we're providing to those families. And there is also the language added for any reason if we had to terminate this contract, there is the 30-day prior notification termination clause and writing in there as well. It's a great program, no concerns with this, sir.
All right, just in,
Oh, and it is funded with grant money.
okay, thank you. In fair disclosure and transparency, I do sit on the board of directors for community partnership. I don't benefit financially in any way from any of this, but I want to throw it out there in case you guys object for me voting on it since I'm on this board of directors. But I don't think it's an ethics violation for me to participate. But we want to make sure we had a full board here before we went forward with this contract, so.
No objections, sir. We all sit on a bunch of boards and I know this, so there's no personal interest there. There's no objections from me.
Same.
Thank you, gentlemen. What would be your consideration on this purchasing service contract?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the Director of Human Services to sign the purchase of service contract for core services program as presented.
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, if there's no further discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes. Do we have any more agenda items that have been presented?
No additional administrative matters have been received after the agenda deadlines.
Great. If nobody has anything else to be brought in front of the board, I have 10:23. We shall adjourn this regular Board of County Commissioner meeting.